Hi, welcome to the second part of tonight's show. I'm John, Dave, and myself. We're going to look forward to our game against Australia at the weekend, and of course, all the Pro 12 matches, including Leinster's against Scarlets. So, boys, we play the Aussies. We had a narrow victory over them the last time, a couple of years ago. We streaked
16,
off
13, I think.
no, 26-23.
After flying off to a 16-0
And then
lead and then getting ourselves reeled back in.
And I think Sexton got a penalty in the last few
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
And do you remember O'Connell made a huge big tackle and turned the ball over to win a penalty when they were kind of attacking. But obviously we heard that Sexton and Henshaw have been ruled out. So we will have some changes and probably a few more than those two.
Yeah, I would imagine so. We may have no CJ Stander as well. We may have no Rob Kearney. Even Simon Zebo is on reduced.
Yeah, it all depends on how they get through the week.
So some or all of those could be on the bench or not even playing. We're not in great shape to face the Aussies. The Aussies are a bit of a bogey team too, and the interesting thing about it is they're third in the world, we're fourth in the world, and I think those positions could change around if we beat them. I'm not sure the mathematics of it, how much we need to beat them by, or what way it breaks down, but I think we're close enough that we can catch them anyway.
Well, they're going for their mythical Grand Slam. They beat Wales fairly. I mean, I watched that match against Wales. They actually hockeyed them.
They hockeyed Wales off the park.
They were narrowly. They only won very narrowly against Scotland. Like Scotland probably should have won that game. And narrowly 2 points victory against.
But they had their B team out against France. They changed every single.
They're saving the good boys for the playoffs. I mean, people don't have a very high opinion of this Australian team, and it's probably to a certain extent. Just let me finish. To a certain extent, based on how they play against New Zealand, which is kind of like, it's like saying Real Madrid are shit because of how they play against Barcelona, kind of thing. But they're World Cup finalists.
Absolutely. They're the second best team in the world.
And they're the second best team in the world. I mean, I think you underestimate Australia at your peril.
I know for a fact Joe Schmidt won't underestimate.
Oh, I know he won't. But I'm telling people out there are underestimating them, suggesting all sorts of crazy selections that should be made. We have to pick the strongest team available to us, no matter.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're without Johnny, which is a huge loss. We're without Henshaw, which is a huge loss.
Does Jackson come in, or do you go for Carberry? Is Carberry still too young?
No way you go for Carberry. I mean, I love Joey Carberry. I think he's an absolutely fabulous player. But he's too green as an international. He just too few minutes under his belt as an international. As a stardom against a Michael Cheika coached Australian team, I think you'd be insane.
But you don't know what you're getting from Jackson.
I agree entirely with what John says, right? But the other problem is Paddy Jackson. I mean, Paddy has been the number 2 man for a couple of years now. He's been the number 1 man in Ulster since 2012. There you go.
Well, he hasn't been the number 2 man until this summer.
No, he's been the number 1 man in Ulster. I mean,
in Madigan was in there.
He was like the whole number 2, but Ian Madigan offered more off the bench, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'd pick Paddy Jackson, but.
Yeah, I'd rather have Johnny Sexton 99.997 times out of 10.
So that's the weirdest statistic I've ever heard.
Well, I just thought
you know what you get with Jackson, and you can take that either way.
Yeah, no, I like the guy as a player. I'm just not sure he's got.
I don't think he has that extra.
Got that X factor.
Yeah,
at the top
that extra
end.
thing that sets Sexton apart from. He doesn't have the thing that sets Sexton apart from himself.
What's he now? 25, 24, 25?
Yeah.
He's coming into, like, I think he can improve, and I think I wouldn't be writing him off under any circumstances. I mean, he hasn't had that much exposure at the top level. He really hasn't. He hasn't played that many test matches at the.
He hasn't started anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
maybe I'm being overly harsh on him.
I think he's a great distributor of the ball. He's a great break on him. His kicking,
his goal kicking is actually quite good.
And it's been improving lately. He notched them all over against Canada, including 2 from the touchline. Now, place kicking doesn't matter who you're playing.
Tyler Blendell was on the radio the other day, and he was just talking about how the perception of a 10 is, he got 6 from 6 kicks. He must have had a good game. Whereas an out half would say, actually, I didn't really play that. If he was being honest with himself, he might say, I didn't have a great game, but I got my kicks. And the opposite is true. I got 2 out of 5, but I had a bloody good game. But the general public will go, God, he had a shocker.
Well, if you think back to the game against Australia, actually, in the 2011 World Cup, Johnny Sexton, I think, only kicked 2 from 5.
Didn't he get dropped?
He did get dropped
Subsequently,
yeah.
didn't he?
But he had a brilliant game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, he moved around the pitch like a piano mover kind of thing. So there is a thing in Ireland. It's very we are quite an orthodox.
Yeah. And our 10 has
Our
to
10
kick,
has to kick, or our 15
and it has to be
worst.
judged on his kicks.
But
and
like,
yada,
you know,
yada.
I remember going back years now, they got Michael Kiernan and they played, like he used to be a centre, and they played him on the wing for his kicking. And
Johnny Hills.
Johnny Hills, exactly. But
what's
like,
his
just say,
name
for
now?
instance, Carberry, you know, Carberry, like, do you
Scott
remember?
Neil Jenkins.
No, but like if you take Carberry as an example, like we just presume that if Carberry plays, he's going to be the kicker. Now he's had mixed, like he's played whatever it is, 11 or 12 international or games of professional rugby, and he's had a mixed bag at some of his at his days when he's been kicking. Whereas if you remember going back to, you know, when Madigan were starting out for Leinster, they very much minded him. And he was criticised. I remember at the time there was criticism coming, particularly from down south, that
And the guy is an absolute ace of a
but
kicker.
the fact was that he was being groomed to just learn, just play your game, learn, get that, and then the kicking will come.
And in fairness to Ulster, they did the same with Paddy Jackson.
They did.
They took all the kicking pressure off him with Pienaar.
And we're doing it with Isa and Joey Carberry.
We've seen Joey Carberry
that's
kick. I mean,
fair enough.
he kicked. What did he kick? 5 out of 5 against Edinburgh, was it?
He did kick very well in one of the early games.
And that wasn't a good day for kickers actually, because it was a very, very unsteady surface.
Yeah, I just think he's just too soon in his development to be starting it. And I was saying to Jason that I thought that Paddy Jackson, it wouldn't be great for Paddy Jackson's confidence to be put on the bench for Joey Carberry. To which Jason replied, well, look, Joe Schmidt doesn't have any sentimentality in this thing. Look, what he didn't bring Gordon Darcy to the World Cup. Well, the thing about that is, you know, he wasn't going to depend on Gordon Darcy to be his starting out half in the next season or for the next, you know, whenever. That Paddy Jackson could well be called, but you don't want to jettison him and shatter his confidence at this early stage.
The other side of things is
I'd have no fears for Carberry off the bench.
Whoever's playing outside the out half is likely to be an Ulster man anyway.
Quite possibly.
So if you're going to have to replace players, at least don't replace the unit.
Luke Marshall.
Scannell was brought in.
Scannell was brought in.
I think that's a bit of a too.
That's a you've done well. Come up to the squad, get into the patterns, and we see how you go. Maybe towards using you in the Six Nations.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
The two, I'd say, live contenders, for want of a better phrase, are probably Marshall is the favourite, and possibly Olding.
Yeah,
I personally would prefer Olding, but
I think Marshall might do it. But the thing about it is, if Scannell, it's kind of what they're saying to Scannell is, come in, get a bit of experience. And if Robbie Henshaw ever gets injured again, you might be
get used to being around Carton House kind of thing.
Yeah.
But did
did
Olding not dirty his bib a few years ago when he kind of backed Roger Wilson? Should have got more caps above.
The South African tour has been since then anyway. So
I don't think that Joe Schmidt gives a shit for that.
No, I wouldn't think so. I'm sure he just
lots
wants
of other coaches that would have.
I mean, in fairness, if you asked, we say for example Jack Carty, do you think John Muldoon should have got more caps than he has? How else would you answer? Only, yeah, I do. I mean, he's a really good player and he's a mate, he's a teammate.
Kind of said it a bit more aggressively than that. But anyway, that's in the past, and he probably has apologised.
And sure, he went on this. That was before the South African tour, anyway.
No,
and
it was absolutely.
He was quite successful on that South African tour. So it will be Marshall, I would suggest.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd like Olding. I think Marshall's more suited to outside centre, to be honest.
He's only made that change quite recently, though. You know, he was always an inside centre.
I think
him and Paddy Jackson have come up through the.
Oh, I know, and I've seen the play. But I just think Olding is a better second 5'8", shall we say, than Marshall. Although Marshall played a lot of out half when he was at school in schools, and Ulster schools rugby isn't that far off being as good as Leinster schools rugby in terms of its intensity, etc. So
I just think that having Marshall, Payne, and like you're not disturbing Payne from central defence role there, and just having the three Ulster boys gives you a bit of familiarity.
So you're going to drop Ringrose, would you?
Drop is a bit strong. He could end up anywhere. You're
not going to pick him?
I wouldn't start him, no.
Okay.
Not at this point. Again, the guy let nobody down against the All Blacks. He's now played the All Blacks, and he's done that bit. He didn't let anybody down at all. He showed up very well. But the minimum disruption is what we want for this test match. It's not like we're on an experimental thing and trying to try people.
We want to win this game.
We want to win this game at all costs.
I mean, if we win this game, we'll have done the hat-trick in the calendar year.
Yeah.
We'll have beaten the All Blacks, South Africa and Australia in the calendar year. How amazing would that be?
Yeah.
Who did that last? England in 2002 and 2003.
I mean, that'd be an extraordinary achievement. Well, that's true, yeah. Whatever happened to them?
Whatever happened to them?
Well, they had a fairly big win at the weekend against Fiji.
Yeah.
They did them all at home in 2002 and they did them all away
the
in
value
2003.
of investment in sevens rugby.
Don't start your hobby horse.
Well, there's quite a few Fijians playing for other nations at the weekend.
There were 5 Fijian wingers playing in the France-Australia game.
Yeah, I watched that game.
And wasn't there a couple of Fijians playing for England?
There was. Well, there was. Yes, there was two.
Fiji.
Rockadaguni and Nathan, what's his face, Hughes.
Yeah.
I thought that was a mountain in Connemara.
Yeah.
Rockadaguni.
I decided to spare Jason having to say it.
Thank you. Yeah, so, and of course, we kind of briefly touched on it in the last episode, but Conor O'Shea's Italy had a fairly good win against the Springboks.
Didn't see it.
Yeah.
But it looked like it was
watched
close.
the last 5 minutes because I was kind of keeping an eye on it and I was watching it on Twitter and the scores going, what the heck? So I switched over to it and Italy were unfortunate not to have another try. They had a try chopped off pretty much the second last play of the game for a guy in touch. So South Africa are a rabble.
They kind of are a bit, aren't they?
They really are.
Like, you wonder if they're going to have a little think about all of their players moving north. If that's really doing their rugby all that good.
Well,
I think the problems are I don't know why they appointed Coetzee, and I don't know why they.
The last time they were this bad, they had Peter de Villiers.
Was it not the colour of his skin?
No. Well, maybe it was. De Villiers, it wasn't. I mean, the thing about De Villiers is everyone said when South Africa were winning, everyone was saying, "Oh, it's not De Villiers, it's Gary Gold." And then when South Africa were losing, it wasn't Gary Gold, it was Peter de Villiers. That told you exactly what they were on about. They shouldn't have appointed Coetzee. They shouldn't have appointed Henyak and Meyer before him. He wasn't much better. I mean,
that's true.
He oversaw the loss to Japan, so
maybe Razzie will go back.
South African rugby is stuck in a bit of a time loop, time warp. It's a power game in a world where rugby isn't a power game anymore.
Well, it's always going to have the power aspect to it, as we saw on Saturday with Ireland and New Zealand. I didn't see the Scotland-Argentina match, but I saw...
So just to go back to that, South Africa, it's not a power aspect with South Africa.
I know.
That's their game.
That's their game. Still.
But it's that power that's played all the way through the entire system. It's from under 13s, they're going to get big, huge pack of forwards in there. And that's just the way they're brought up, and that's the way they play. And it's very hard to get that DNA out of your system. Even if the world rugby has moved on, and probably driven by New Zealand, but we don't have something like that in Ireland. Maybe Munster, to a little degree, has a tradition of 10-man rugby, but it's not ingrained in the entire island. Whereas in South Africa, it pretty much is.
Oh yeah. The only thing is that they are very, very proud people, and they're very proud of their rugby team. And a rugby team that loses in the space of, we'd say, of 12 months to Japan and Italy, that's not going to be tolerated. No. I mean, it's simply not going to be tolerated. But to a certain extent, they brought it on themselves. I mean, a lot of the blame in South Africa has been put on transformation, right? And it's all happened so suddenly, and it's all transformation. They've had since 1995, it's essentially, to get it right. And they did nothing. They did nothing for 20 years. And now people got tired of waiting for them. To a certain extent.
Legislate their way out of it.
Yeah. I mean, they gave them a chance to do it voluntarily, and they didn't.
So, the one exciting game that I did see was Japan and Wales.
Yeah.
There was an exciting match. I didn't see it all, but I saw quite a bit of it in the pub before I went to the New Zealand game. And Jesus, the Japanese were brilliant. Well,
That wasn't even their strongest team.
really.
Yeah.
Well, they were looking. We're on a tour down there, a fact-finding mission next during the Lions tour.
It'll be-
Missing our lines.
Missing
You know,
our
missing
lines.
our-
Yeah.
It'll be a
That's
bruise
gotta
finding
be-
mission.
That's going to be a tough tour for whoever's on it, and there could be quite a few second string players on it. But Jesus, that was in the Millennium Stadium, like that. That was on their home turf.
If you think that's
They took them to the woodshed, and they nearly
Wales were mullered by Australia the week before, and
2 weeks before,
2
yeah.
weeks before, sorry, and narrowly
beat
beat.
but sure, even Scotland can beat them.
But narrowly beat Japan with a last min penalty.
Top goal from
Top goal.
what's his name? Nigel's boy, Sam Davis.
Nigel's boy.
Nigel Davis is his
Oh,
dad.
sorry. Nigel Owens' boy. I was wondering.
What do you want to tell Jason about biology? There are
Anyway.
2 strikes against Nigel.
Anyway, I suppose Scotland. Anybody see the Scotland Argentina game?
No.
No.
No, I try not to watch Scotland unless I have to.
Saw them against Australia the previous week, and they were unlucky.
Mm.
Michael Cheika, in fairness, has been very lucky to scrape through the Scotland and the France game. Admittedly, he played a weakened team in preparation for
In
us.
fairness,
But
France are not.
France were showing a few signs now. I know they're not all that in the bag of chips yet. But
They're not all that. They aren't even all that in a potato cake.
fair enough.
I watched. What did I watched? I mean, the game is. I watched Stade Francais against Montpellier at the weekend because I'm just a sucker for punishment. And
That's dedication, Dave.
oh my god, it was dreadful stuff.
Stodge Fest.
Timosi Ngusa was brilliant, but there's only so many times you can give him the ball. It was dreadful stuff. It really, really was. French rugby's in serious trouble.
Mm.
I mean, I can see why they're signing all the Fijians.
But then you see, the French rugby's in trouble. South African rugby is in trouble.
And 3 of us have a bid in for the World Cup.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm quite happy for them to be troubled that way. No, I think Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, Italy will be happy with their autumns thus far.
Yeah.
Don't think very many other teams will be.
England.
Oh, England, sorry, I keep forgetting about them.
Yeah, they're not playing. They're famous for not playing New Zealand this term.
I was watching after they won the match a couple of weeks ago
Against South Africa.
against South Africa. They had the highlights on BBC, and they were doing a little piece at the end of the match, and the interviewer was saying, "What a shame we're not playing New Zealand. So, what's our chances for the World Cup? We must be odds-on favourite now." And it's no pity we don't get to play New Zealand this tour, because we probably would beat them, wouldn't we?
I'm quite willing to concede, and
maybe.
I'm quite willing to concede that England are as good as Italy. But no, it's going to be. I mean, this Six Nations is going to be a tricky one anyway, because it's the Six Nations for Lions tour. It does skew things somewhat because you got, for one thing, one of the coaches is missing. So
And that's our hardest away game.
that is our hardest away game. They're not looking great, Wales.
Oh, Wales are
and
in the shit.
the game was dealt another blow today with the news that Liam Williams has signed
to
for Saracens.
yeah.
Personality and club find one another. He's a fantastic player.
I love
mean,
Liam Williams. I think he's a great player.
You don't love him.
I
You
do.
admire him as a player.
Oh, I love him. I want to have his babies.
He's a bit of an old bollocks on the pitch, but he's a fantastic player. He really, really is. I mean, is he Lions fullback? I would suggest that he probably is at this stage.
Really?
Yeah. Liam
How
Williams,
how
yeah.
a man who can make the shape of a clock with his lower legs can run that fast is just
Did you never see?
Amazing.
Did you never see Rivaldo?
okay.
No, I mean, I think he's brilliant. I think he's a brilliant player, but he can be quite objectionable on the pitch. He really, really can.
Yeah, I think that's overplayed, to be honest. Yeah, he does. He's done a few.
I remember when we scored a try,
Yeah, he takes
and he had
guys
a
out
little
after
bit of
the-
a niggle at the
Yeah.
on behind the goal.
Hey, he's a rough, tough boy. He can dish it out. He can take it.
As you mentioned earlier, going back to the Aussie game, Cheika did rest a few lads. He rested Kepu, and he also, more importantly, I suppose, Israel Folau, who I'm looking forward to seeing in the flesh.
In the flesh.
He's such a super player.
I hope he's not too super. And
He's a fantastic athlete, isn't he? He's just wonderful. Izzy Folau.
yeah, they're clamouring for him to play at 13 now instead of Kurandrani. That seems to be a lot of the Aussies are saying get him into 13. They've enough full backs, but Kurandrani isn't. Despite scoring the most athletic try I have seen in a
one
long
that'll be
time.
one that'll make a lot of end of season highlight videos anyway.
That was awesome. Did you see it?
Yeah.
He scored a try while
You think it was CGI?
yeah he was completely over the touchline in the air and managed to get his hand in to the very corner of just at the edge of the try line and scored the try a nanosecond before the rest of his body hit the ground. It was just
unbelievable. You go home on
really
YouTube,
good.
it's fantastic.
Really good.
Australia do that sometimes. They get
He is a bit of a cart horse, though. In fairness,
they have a player and they move him around the pitch. Was there any position that Matt Rogers didn't play, for example?
No,
Or Edemeshi
but look,
Cooper.
Yeah.
there's certain countries do that. France do it. Australia definitely do it.
Yeah.
And New
A lot of
Zealand
them
too.
come from league in Australia.
They do.
so-
It's
They
not
do,
always
but-
a good idea, though.
But a lot of the guys who played league had played, like Matt Rogers was an international schools boy at Union.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so then he went on, he had a pro
Back and
career
forward.
and moved back.
But
But
his dad a league.
his dad was his big league star, like in his time. But like we kind of, as I said this before, if a teacher gets a kid and makes a decision,
Yeah.
you're going to
That's
be
it
you're
for
going
the
to be
rest
a
of your
prop,
life, mate.
and pretty much are. Whereas there's some kids they start off as second rows and they end up in the backs.
That's a valid
I'm sure
point.
that must have happened to Shane Horgan.
I mean, it's a valid point, but at some point you have to go, okay, this guy's good at this, we'll stick him here, and look at the balance of strength that you have. I mean, Kurandrani isn't actually that bad,
Oh yeah, he's
You
not,
know?
But
and whoever, I don't know who would the second choice fullback be, because he's not going to be even a minuscule of a patch on Israel Folau. Israel Folau,
course
one of the
not.
great advantages is Izzy Folau has playing fullback, is he can see the entire field ahead of him.
that's
Yeah.
true.
You know?
And he played Aussie rules, so he's
Yeah.
obviously very good under
Yeah.
the.
Played one season of Aussie Rose.
But he would have probably played when he was young as well.
Played a
though.
lot of league. That's where his main thing was. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what Cheika dreams up, because he's a man with he's great man
with
manager,
a
as we
plan.
know. He's a great man with a plan.
That we could have
His
that.
selection isn't great. Always, he doesn't always get selection right with the Aussie team, but he always gets the mindset right. And this game could be won or lost on mindset, pretty much like the one last week was. But at least we know after playing the All Blacks what it takes to win a Test match and to lose one. So I'm hoping that we're going to come up with the goods, because
I just think that we're really suffering from leaders, and we lost.
yeah.
Well, say against the Kiwis, we lost 3 of them. CJ has captained Munster many times. Henshaw is kind of one of the more experienced guys. He's still only young, but he's one of the more experienced fellas in the back line.
Sexton's the
And
general.
Sexton, of course, the general. And I'm just thinking back to the match 2 years ago. It was O'Connell was the man in that game, and he just took all the responsibility. When we got into the lead, and we seemed to just let it slide, and then he kind of stood up.
Well, here's the question then.
And who do we have now?
Here's the question. We're
Probably best
we're
Jimmy
unlikely
Easton,
to have
Sean O'Brien.
CJ Stander. We don't know, but we'll say we're not going to have him. Do you play Peter O'Mahony there, or do you play Sean O'Brien there?
Well, Peter O'Mahony is captain of Munster.
Yeah, in light of what you're saying about leadership, there's the question.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure O'Brien's played a Test match for the Lions, so he's also a leader.
He's up there.
If maybe not a captain,
Follow me
I don't
type
know,
leader.
a follow me type leader, right? So it's more experience I'm talking about. But if you take like Henderson he's been around the team for a while, but he hasn't got a huge number of caps because
I
he's
would
been
not.
He's
injured.
not back
No.
into fitness yet.
And then you've got Ulton Delan, who was injured. So you've got
If I was given a choice between Henderson and Delan, at this point in time, I'd take Delan.
I think I might
Um,
just.
But I don't think either will be starting, to be honest with you.
Neither. I think the same starting second rows, but
Yeah.
I think the difference between Henderson and Delan at the moment is that
Form.
Well, form, but the fact that Henderson is literally just off the table from
Yeah.
injury. He's no game time. So that I know Delan has been injured, but it's only a very small. Henderson's back from a major injury.
would you see any validity
Another Novena Ted.
in
Is there
bringing
anything to be said for
in
another man?
Tracy for Cronin? I thought
on the bench.
on the bench because I just last week when Cronin came on, I wanted him to make his first throw and he just didn't. And you know, it's come on, he's a Leinster guy, but I just
think
occasionally
it's a massive swings and roundabouts thing.
under major pressure.
I wouldn't.
He can miss far.
He's a good hooker. He's
fantastic in the loose.
But what I'm saying is he's actually matured into a really good hooker from the technical point of things. He's really good at hooking the ball.
Yeah.
Which was a huge.
I remember when they changed the rules.
Yeah, he was all over the place.
He just basically didn't move his foot, and the ball was wedged in the middle of the tunnel.
He's learned how to do it now, and he does it very, very well. It swings and roundabouts. I mean, you bring on Tracy, and Tracy's a really good, quite orthodox hooker, but he's very, very good with it.
He's also tough. You know, he's tough.
And he's very dynamic as
Cronin
well.
does have
he does
explosiveness.
But you know, so does Tracy.
He hasn't
got the pace.
He doesn't have that. Now, I would not worry about which of them was on the bench. To be honest with you, it's 6 and 2 threes for me, or maybe 4 and 2 twos. But there are. I mean, Cronin has that explosiveness. He has that pace. I mean, he runs like a back. He's like an extra back row forward.
Exactly, and he can change a game.
Tracy's a fantastic carrier in the closer in. He's a very good thrower as well. And you know, if you bring on Tracy, he will add ballast to a scrum.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, so
I'd take either of them for Ireland and either of them for Leicester.
Yeah, I'd say either of them to be perfectly honest.
I think his star is starting to rise anyway.
Oh, it certainly is. It certainly is.
Anyway, we need to turn our attention towards the Pro 12 as well. Obviously, we took a break for a few weeks during the Autumn Internationals, so we play Scarlets at the weekend.
A game, that Una Kerr would like to remind all our viewers is on BBC Wales, which you can tune in on your Skyboxes using.
If you haven't already.
Which most people, I think, might have.
Probably have.
In your other channels, the instructions for which are up in the Supporters Club section on the Leinster Rugby site.
True.
Very good. So the Scarlets won this game, this corresponding fixture last year, 25-14. I think you were over at it, John.
I was. Carl Marsh and Ross Byrne. It was the weekend that we played.
In the World
Cup? No, it was the quarter-final weekend of the World Cup.
Did we not fall very, very far behind and then dig ourselves back into it and then go behind again?
We did, and we had Carl Marsh and Ross Byrne, I remember, and Ross Byrne had a little bit of a shocker, and has been injured a lot since. So you know, he's a man just coming back into form, who we may need to. If Carberry is back up out half for Ireland, then Ross Byrne is probably starting. Carl Marsh is injured. So you're scraping about. It'll be a similar team then, maybe to what they had on
Zebre
against Zebre. The only good news is that Canada are playing, so the DTH Van der Merwe won't be able to play his usual muscular.
And of course Wales are playing.
And Wales are playing was my next breath. So all of the Scarlets that play for Wales are toast. So we should have a good stab at it. I would say there'll be a lot of disruption though, because there'll be guys, you mentioned James Tracy, there'll be guys like that who are going to be playing with Ireland. They won't be starting or even in the 23, but they'll be playing all week, and they'll be
with
back
the game in
as
a
bench.
different country.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd say, maybe
bench at best.
Luke McGrath might be released back to us, but if Joe's thinking, well, Luke's third choice scrum half and he's in.
He might be 24th to 25th man. They might bring him over.
But he might get released back. But if he's a couple of 100 miles across the Irish Sea, then I'm not releasing him.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the extra hookers. So we might find it very difficult to get guys back. We mightn't even get the likes of Levy in that back. So
and then we heard news during the week that Mike Ross
out for the rest of the season.
Bad. Well, if it's the whole rest of the season, then it might be the rest of his career.
No, that's the fear.
I would like to think that he'll be.
It was 3 or 4 months, was it?
I think it's something like that. Well, they don't know for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was rested. That's what I'm open to correction entirely.
Well, I'm hoping he'll be back for the closing stages of the season.
It does leave us in a bit of a pickle. Yeah. I mean, we're okay starting. We're okay at Loosehead, and we're okay starting with Bent. But after that, we're dipping into the academy.
Yeah, Bent might have to play 80.
Yeah.
I hope he's feeling.
Which, in fairness to him, he's done before. I mean, he's quite a doughty character.
Might be time to see if someone like Porter can swap over to tight head, or
that's a definite runner.
But
he's big enough.
Yep.
You just think because there's a roadblock. Like, he's a big guy, he's very athletic, but there's starting to become a roadblock there now. In front of me, on the loose head side, you got McGrath and Healy.
Well, that's it exactly. And if
And not to mention
Ross
Dooley.
if
No,
Ross
exactly.
does, whether he comes back or not for the end of the season, if he retires in the summer, which like the guy's 36
yeah.
this next month, or as he's 37 next month, he's quite old anyway. Let me think. No, I think he's actually 30.
I think he's 36.
I don't think it really
36.
matters. I mean, he's
Yeah,
had it.
he's knocking on anyway. So the chances are he could retire at the end of the season, whether his injury is fixed or not. So that leaves us with, now that Marty Moore is on 3 years over in Wasps, that leaves us with Tyke Furlong and ... question mark. You know, there's a couple of young academy guys untested.
Mhm.
And it wouldn't take much to get Andrew Porter in ahead of them, you know, in terms of...
Yeah. Well, that's if he can.
Well, he might show. I mean, they are different positions. I mean,
Very different. And if you get used to
Of
one
course.
side, it's...
And the other thing is, it
However-
used to be okay. Sorry, just to take this, it used to be okay for a real power guy to switch across. But the game has changed and the scrum has changed.
Very
And,
technical.
and it's a technical position now. If you'd said this to me 5 years ago, I would have wondered why Andrew Porter was. He probably would be playing on that side anyway, because the tight head side was a power position.
Mhm.
But the game has changed, so
Yeah.
I mean, he can't. I mean, he could well have the aptitude for it, but he may not have. I mean, that's all.
It's all I'm saying is it's worth a shout.
Oh yeah, it's
worth
worth. Certainly worth trying.
worth
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's worth trying for him as well, because I mean,
up his wages massively.
it would up and his desirability massively. I mean,
And also, it's the path to success, or the path to...
Not too many ahead of you.
Exactly. It's not littered with internationals.
often the
whereas
best played
looseheaders-
players in teams are the tight head props, and if you're a tight head prop who can play on both sides, then you can write your own check.
Yeah. Good night and thank you.
As you mentioned, writing checks. Israel Dag might be writing, Joe Leinster might be writing a check for him. Or
Look, when he's in a blue jersey, he can flatten CJ Sander all he likes. Just don't do it when he's in a black one.
Yeah.
so you got to guess that if that's true, and you know it's been reported in the paper today that they've been in talks with him when he was here, and
Well, they have,
previously.
all right, but
But
a lot of water to go under the bridge.
of course, yeah.
There's about
but
a
you
million
got-
French teams want them as well.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But you got to sort of say that's probably curtains for Zayn and possibly Issa.
Well, I think Zayn is probably
I think
going
that's-
to shuffle off anyway. He's over 30.
He still
He's-
seems to be absolutely out of favour. Like they haven't.
Well,
didn't pick him
haven't
against-
announced his injury. We might see him next weekend.
Yeah, but it
I
didn't.
haven't seen him in training or anything, in any of the training picks or anything like that.
Maybe he's got issues of a physical or
Yeah,
non-physical nature.
we don't know, but he certainly doesn't seem to be available for selection for whatever reason. And I don't think there's any doubt that he won't be staying around beyond the end of
No.
the season. I'd be very surprised if Issa was staying around as a player beyond the end of the season.
I'd
either.
like to see him as kind of player coach, a guy who could.
Well,
who
I'd
could
say
do both.
we'd be allowed, whether we'd be allowed actually sign him as a player. We might be allowed to register him as a player once we've signed him as a coach. It might be very different, but
Yeah, I'd say there might be rules around it where he can only play in certain matches or positions, or
but I mean
who knows.
we have to assume that he's going to finish up as a player at the end of the season anyway, because his contract is up.
I wouldn't be assuming anything, but yeah, who
Uh,
knows?
So Israel Dag is the profile of player we'd be looking to replace that combination with.
He's
but
got
it's-
pace.
But like, would you think that
That's it.
we've had the retirement of Luke Fitzgerald in that position,
Yeah.
and
Significant injuries.
we've had Dave Carney's been out for quite a while.
Ferg.
Ferg McFadden's been out. Zane Kirshner hasn't been seen on a Leinster team sheet for quite some time. So whether, as you said, we don't know what his situation is.
There hasn't been a Leinster team sheet for 3 weeks in fairness.
No, but even before that, like on a match that you'd expect him to feature was against Zebre. Now I don't know whether he's injured or
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
And then obviously Issa is still probably our leading scorer and stellar back at the moment, but he ain't getting any younger.
No, and our back three is probably going to be similar to what lined out against Zebre as well, which is pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah,
And
but
if
I
they
mean,
play
I'm
like
happy
they
with
played
it, yeah.
against Zebre, I'll be.
But I mean, a player like Israel Dag is a what they would call a worldie.
Yeah.
He's a top class player. He really is.
Do we
But you
know?
you market that you can market that so well, and you say we've got an All Black that played against Ireland that's got 60 caps or whatever he has. This is somebody that you might want to. You might have couple of years ago not renewed your season ticket, now there's an opportunity to go and see one
he's
of
right.
the
Oh,
best
yeah,
world players
he
in the
puts
world.
bums. He's a guy who put bums
That's his
on seats.
biggest. That's his biggest thing. But is he going to be fancying a trip to Zebra? Because he won't be playing for the All Blacks once he comes here. It's not like Australia and South Africa where they'll make some exceptions.
He won't be the first player to come north. Come
Yeah,
north for 2 years and then go home for the next World Cup.
But would he fancy facing Zebra and whatever in the piss and rain? And
Maybe he'd like to
Yeah.
support. Maybe he'd like to play for Leinster against Munster, or Leinster in European Cup matches.
I'm sure he'd like to do
in
that.
the Viva Stadium. Like there's not many teams in Europe, get to play in front of 45,000
And
people
guys,
in a European
if guys are interested
group
in,
match.
A lot of guys want that experience of going and playing against Treviso, or playing against Debray, or playing a European match against an English club or a French club, or going up to Edinburgh or going up to Belfast. People actually do enjoy that. Rocky Elsom loved that.
Yeah.
So
Different kind of world. I know it's only 7-8 years ago, but it's
but there is a global experience there for a player, and that we can offer. That look, I'm not saying that we're the best club in the world, and although we obviously are, but we can offer something
you're not biased at all,
we can
I'm
offer
saying
something that English and French clubs can't offer. France can offer a different lifestyle entirely from the New Zealand lifestyle, and that's a great thing to have, right? Irish clubs can offer, or we say Pro 12 clubs can offer the European kind of thing, which English clubs not necessarily can. They don't.
Like their trips are, you slagged off it's going to Zebra. Their trips are possibly going
Worcester and
and
Bristol and
and even like less. You're going up to Newcastle in front of 3,500 people.
yeah.
He'd see some of the finest industrial estates in all of England. So I mean, we can offer something like that, and people say, "Oh, can we afford it?" Yeah, we can, because I mean,
Well, there's only one of them.
yeah, we only want one.
Exactly.
We don't need to sign 40 guys. We only need to sign one guy. I mean, I gave the example earlier. I mean, Munster were able to go, and it turned out he was kind of using it for his own benefit, but also Munster were able to attract or pretty much go down the road of signing Chris Latham. And then when they couldn't get him because he decided to stay in Australia, they signed Christian Cullen instead,
And then Dougie Howard.
and then replaced him with Dougie Howlett. Not a lot of clubs or a lot of unions can afford to play at that level.
Times have changed a little bit, although they're
but
changing
it
back
don't-
again a bit
I think that's
too.
I just think that's so overplayed.
Yeah, I don't. I don't.
3
It
years.
wasn't a financial issue that we changed. We changed because as a result of almost a HR issue. It wasn't a financial issue that we decided to stop signing these top guys.
And
that's
then,
true.
and then, 4 years ago, Johnny Sexton was the highest paid rugby player. And 2 years later, he comes back to Leinster. Still a very well played rugby player. But Leinster /IRFU /Bank of Ireland, or Dennis O'Brien,
Or whoever.
or whoever,
What combination?
came up and divvied up his wages for 4 years. So it's available there. You can't go out and buy every single All Black that's going to want to go north.
And nor do we want to.
But they can go into the market. They're going to say, we need a winger. We need a good winger. They clearly made some sort of error in judgment by going down the not quite the first class, get a Springbok international that's played 20 times. Like pretty much on paper you'd say that's not a bad deal, right? But didn't work out because St. Kirshner wouldn't be on anyone's World 15 team. Israel Dag is a current All Black, and a team that went 18 games
Well,
unbeaten.
let's not get too excited until you get.
No,
to
that's
the end
fair
of
But
the
just to say, I mean, if we don't sign him, I wouldn't say it's because we can't afford him. I mean,
It could be on any. He might prefer to live in the south of France. He might prefer to live in London.
and to be sure, at
Who
the end of the
knows?
day, Leinster will probably have a valuation that they think is an appropriate valuation for the player. Now, some French team could come in and offer stupid money for him, so you let them
Probably
pay.
will, Dave. They
You
probably
let
will.
them, but you let
Yeah,
them spend
but
stupid money.
there's-
He's not worth stupid money to
But
us.
there's going to be other guys coming on the market that possibly are worth stupid money or aren't. But the clubs can't. The French clubs, there's only 14 of them. They can't buy every single All Black that wants to go north or Australian
Especially if
international.
Marine Le Pen wins the election.
So drifting slowly back into the actual game
But
against
just
Scarlets.
to finish off that point, to bring it back to circular. I mean, Ulster didn't have too many problems attracting Charles Piatow.
Yeah.
That's true.
Um,
And they had the money.
Mhm.
Does anybody know if Rory O'Loughlin is fit again?
That is a very good question.
Because if he is, I'd be happy enough with our back line. Noel Reid.
Mhm.
Noel Reid and Rory O'Loughlin in the centre, and to the same back three as Zebre. Byrne.
I wouldn't be entirely distraught
Daly.
with Tom Daly and Noel Reid. They did quite well.
He did well too, yeah. That's
I
true.
wouldn't be distraught about it. I mean,
Adam Byrne.
Well, Adam Byrne, Barry Daly, and Issa as the back three
Yeah.
would be.
I presume Ross
would be
Byrne
fine.
/ Cathal Marsh and
If
Cathal
Cathal
Marsh
Marsh
is injured,
is
isn't
fit
he?
he is
again.
injured. Yes, is he?
I'm just saying, if Cathal Marsh is
I
fit
presume it'll be
again.
Ross Byrne anyway, and Jonathan Gibson Park.
Mm-hmm. Well, he'll be a big
fixture.
asset to have at this
Yeah.
time of the
Yeah.
season, you know.
Yeah.
It's a very, very young team there, isn't it?
Oh, it is a very young team.
I
yeah.
know, and luckily that Scarlets are going to be missing their crop of
But they are at
internationals.
home.
They are at home, yeah.
Park the
think-
Scarlets.
I think
But
a losing bonus point could be a good result
Well, see, that's
there.
the thing. I mean, it's a young team, but it's a team that can play without pressure. It doesn't without fear. And it will. I mean, it might be a young team, but it's the pack have a combination of power and gnarledness.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Yeah,
I mean, you go out there. We say just as an example, Mike McCarthy and Hayden Triggs, second row. That's a pretty useful.
oh, look, we're tripping over second
yeah.
rows.
Mick
We're only
Carney.
missing one to
Ross Maloney,
Ireland, so yeah, you've just named four there,
Yeah.
so yeah, we only need three.
But I think this could be a bit of a banana skin, not just this fixture, but the way the other fixtures have fallen this weekend.
Yeah.
Like Ulster at home to Zebre. Now Ulster are currently fifth, but they could make a bit of ground on
They'll
us.
probably win that.
Yeah, Munster, who are 3 points behind us in the table, are at home to Treviso again.
They'll probably win that.
Yeah. The other matches, good one is Glasgow at home to Ospreys as fourth against third.
Ooh.
Glasgow are missing. You know, their wives will have to turn up on the
Which
bench.
is the same with Ospreys.
Yeah, well, not quite. There's 4 teams in Wales to select from, and there's only
Well, three.
2. Well, okay, 3. 3 and
Ospreys will be missing
1/10.
an awful lot of players. That's what I'm saying.
No, they will, but not
Oh,
not as many as
compared
Glasgow.
for- Sorry, yeah, gotcha. Sorry.
Glasgow are the ones that are decimated. Them and Leinster, really.
Yeah.
We can just afford our decimation a little bit better than a lot of teams because we seem to have a good set of young lads coming through. So the game is in Park y Scarlets,
It is.
not Park E Scarlets. Apparently, Welsh
Park
people
is Scarlets.
are telling me that it's not Park E Scarlets, you fools. Just like people from Glasgow are telling
Because the
me.
Indians are telling you.
You get that down the local Balti house. Is that what I mean?
I wasn't actually trying to do a Welsh
Okay.
accent
Well,
there.
that's okay because you didn't succeed.
Trying to be
You're
Peter
doing
Sellers.
Madras one, were
I
you?
was trying to be Peter Sellers. And just as the people in Scotstoun are telling me it's not Scottstown, it's Scotstoun.
Yes, but we prefer to say Scots tune
We do.
because there's a moose loose
Because
with the
and
soos.
it rhymes with we're doomed. Every time we go to Scottstown.
We're doomed
Anyway, boys, as ever, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much.
for all that and all that.
And thanks very much for watching. Cheers.